Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode in the Get Unstuck series with myself, Sarah Archer. I'm a career and leadership coach. If you haven't joined me before, you're very, very welcome. And I run these sessions every 2 weeks or so, 15 minutes max, just to give you a small window in your week to think about your career, to think about leadership and the thorny problems that we have to face as leaders or in terms of navigating our career. And I also have a podcast called Unstuck and Unstoppable, where you can also pick up the same topics if you prefer to listen rather than watch something, or you can fit it more into your time, into your day. And if you're watching on replay, which a lot of people do, hello. If you've got comments or questions, please do pop them into the chat. Tag me if you're watching on replay and I'll come back and answer them. And today's topic is a really important topic, and it's one that is close to my heart, and often I will help clients navigate this. And it's that question of what is enough? And how do we know when we've achieved enough? Because success is complex, isn't it? And we are always encouraged to kind of push for what's next. But I think we have to be mindful that for our health, for our well-being, we want to be able to live a life that is true to ourselves. But if we don't ask ourselves the right questions, it can sometimes be hard to know whether we are doing that, whether we have achieved that, and whether we need to keep pushing through. And so what I thought today is I just talk to you a little bit about the complexity of being able to identify what is enough, and then how you can help becoming more intentional and more conscious about what you want to achieve in terms of what is enough for you, because our definitions of success have to be very personal. And we have to be able to kind of block out the external noise that can kind of get in the way of us being clear about what is enough for ourselves. And also just to talk through what's the cost of never being able to achieve enough for ourselves if we're constantly pushing for more. So the question I want to just start with is just asking yourself, when was the last time that you actually asked yourself what enough looks like for you in your career and also in your life? Because the two are definitely intertwined. And this is not thinking about what your organization expects, not thinking about what society celebrates in terms of success or when it's enough, and not what LinkedIn might be telling you success has to look like, but actually for you, for your personal situation, what does success look like? Because particularly for successful women, success can often feel like it's a moving target. We achieve one thing and then immediately we're kind of onto what's next, aren't we? What's the next promotion? What's the next pay rise? What's the bigger role? What's the more impact I can have? What's the bigger ambition? And we're always asking that question, what's next? Instead of asking, what would feel like it's enough for me? And then being able to enjoy where you are without constantly pushing for what's next. So, if you achieved everything you feel like you're currently working towards, would that feel like that was enough? Or would there be, right, I've got to set myself some new targets now? And I mentioned before, it is complicated because often we may feel we've inherited other people's definition of success. We start our careers, early, maybe late teens, early 20s, and we have a lot of influences at that point in our lives about what success might look like. It might be what's around us, what we see. It might be the messages we've seen or received. It might be what our parents have done that have influenced us. And what success might look like today might be very different from what it looked like in that early career. I know for me, I was very motivated to achieve status and to achieve financial security. My parents were both from kind of working class backgrounds. My dad had become a farm manager, so he had kind of left some of his working class roots behind him. My mum was a stay-at-home mum, and then she went into kind of administration roles when she returned to work. So she didn't really have ambition. And so for me, I definitely kind of felt like I wanted to achieve more. And also, my dad unfortunately died when I was 11, and my mum became a single parent. So financial security for me was linked very much with status and achievement. And so that was a real kind of driver for me at that point in my career. And, you know, for you, it might be that you've had sort of external influences that might have created a particular definition for you of success at that point in your life that may then be different to what you want now. And we also, if we break it down into different success criteria, women often have inherited success criteria around achievement, which we just talked about, also around productivity, always being on, always being busy. It might be around service to others. That can often be a message we receive as women, and that we have to be of service to others or be everything to everyone. It could be around status, and it could be around financial security, as I mentioned earlier. Now, we don't consciously choose these definitions earlier in our career. We just keep striving towards it. We're kind of like on an automatic pilot, and we have to press pause to really think about whether that's still right for us, or whether we want to actually create different definitions now and be more conscious about it. Because sometimes we can just feel exhausted by constantly striving for these goals that maybe don't feel like they're in alignment. Now, as I mentioned, there is a cost to not reaching that sense of enough. This is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. Because you might kind of have that sense that the goalposts are constantly moving. You think you've achieved one thing, and then, oh no, I really need to be pushing for that next role. So maybe, you know, when I reach director level, I was kind of pushed to go, I'm in a, you know, small to medium charity as a director. I need to be moving to a bigger charity where I can have more impact, more influence, more success. I didn't do that. I rejected that. But at that earlier point, that was the legitimate, the logical, the next move that I was kind of feeling like I should be on. We kind of get onto this treadmill, don't we? This kind of pathway, which, you know, can be fine if that's what you want, but it's just being really conscious about it. So what I'm talking about is not about anti-ambition. You know, ambition is important, but it's about intentional and conscious ambition and choosing that for yourself. The other cost to never getting to that kind of state of enough is feeling guilty when you're resting. I still wrestle with that of I should be doing, I should be productive, I should be, you know, if I'm successful, it's because I'm busy. And actually recognizing that rest is really important and vital. And I did a live session, an episode on rest a few weeks ago, which I'll put a link to for you. So if you wanted to just think about how important rest is for you as part of your success criteria, that could be helpful. Also, the cost is that sense of never quite arriving, always on to the next thing, never being able to kind of just enjoy where you are. Delaying enjoyment, you know, I'll slow down when I achieve this, or I'll be happy when I've achieved that particular role. All of those things can be a cost to us, or feeling like we're sacrificing things that matter most. I know when I was an HR director, I was working 4 days a week. I definitely sacrificed time with my young children then. I did eventually manage to move to 3 days a week, but I know I felt there was a cost to that, both for me and for them. And you can flip it. You can ask yourself, what has ambition given me? Because there will be lots of positives. And what has it cost me? Just to kind of get a balanced view of where you want to be moving to next in terms of your success criteria. So What can be really helpful is to break down what is really important to you in terms of these success criteria, because that will help you identify when you have achieved enough. And often our success criteria can be linked to our values. So understanding what your values are can be really helpful in then making sure your success criteria are in alignment with that. So sometimes just asking yourself, okay, what does enough look like for me? And it can be, rather than kind of trying to get a bit meta about it, it can be like just helpful to look at the small points that can give you clues around what's important to you. So it could be things like, I just want to have time to walk my dog first thing in the morning. I don't want to be kind of rushing off to work. I want a nice calm start to my mornings. That could be a success criteria for you, or element of your success criteria. It might be recognizing that actually leading a smaller team is more energizing for you, that you like being at the heart of that kind of development, inspiration, energy, passion that a small team can give you. It might be around confidence and feeling that you are at a point where you do feel confident. You still have challenge, but you feel confident in what you're doing. It might be around flexibility, and working 4 days a week might be feeling like that's enough for you. It might be recognizing that part of you wants to build a business at some point in your career, or having more time with your family, or earning more money and being absolutely okay with that. So it's understanding what drives you. Another helpful way to look at it is to look at people around you that you feel are successful, maybe not in the traditional sense. So it might be your neighbor who works part-time running her own creative business, and you really feel envious of the fact that she can be creative, or she has flexibility, or she can go off and work from wherever. Or it might be your friend who has a really interesting, challenging role, but is a kind of SME, is a kind of technical expert or specialist, rather than pushing for management and leadership. Or it might be your friend who, or your cousin who is a leader and is doing it in a really compassionate, inspiring way. So just kind of noticing people around you and how they are living their lives, and noticing what you are feeling is missing from yours, can also be helpful at looking at your success criteria. So I thought it'd be helpful if I maybe share my success criteria with you to give you a flavour of what they could look like. And it took me a while to develop these. And obviously these are mine in terms of running my business, so they might be different to your career. But I think sometimes it's helpful to know, what might success criteria look like in terms of what's enough for me. So my first one is to work with interesting and motivated clients that I feel I can make a difference to. So one of my key values is making a difference. So to do that with clients that are, interesting, inspiring, and motivating is really important for me. My second one is to stretch myself by saying yes to things that scare me, and to take on things that help me to grow as a business owner and grow as a coach. So I know that I need challenge, I need stretch. I can't be just plateauing. I've got to have manageable stress to feel inspired. That's my second success criteria. My third is to have harmony between work and life, to take time out for my family, and also to energize my health and well-being. So that kind of balance piece is really important for me. And then my fourth success criteria is around money, because money is important, and that's to earn enough to be a planet-friendly, moderate consumer. So I want to earn enough to be comfortable, but I don't want to be damaging the planet by overconsumption. So that's an important value for me. So those 4 success criteria help me make decisions about what's right for me in my career, in my business, what I say yes to, what I say no to. And it's really helpful to keep coming back to those if I've got big decisions to make about taking on a particular piece of work, or how I want to shape my business going forward. So it enables me to be conscious, it enables me to be intentional about my ambition. So thinking about yours, because remember they're very personal, just thinking about what's important for you that will help you answer the question, what is enough? And I'm going to leave you with two questions or two approaches that can help you to do that. So the first one is to answer the question, if no one else's expectations mattered, because sometimes we are definitely influenced by what people might think of us, what we might think of ourselves, what the change to our identity might mean if we do make changes. So to ask yourself, if no one else's expectations mattered, what would enough look like for the next season or this season of my life? So it allows you to really focus on what you want right now. Or the other approach, which is also really helpful to look at it, is to take a kind of backwards looking glance. So if you fast forwarded to when you're 80 and you are this incredible 80-year-old wise woman who has lived a really great life, and if she was looking back, if you were looking back, what would be the markers that signify that you have lived a good life? That can also be a really powerful way at thinking about, okay, what's working, what's not working, and how do I want to shape the next phase of my career, my life. So I hope that's inspired you to just press pause, to use maybe the slightly quieter period of the summer to just think about, what does enough look like for me? What are my success criteria right now for me? And how do I want to move forward in my career and in my life for the next phase of it? And if you need help with that, because this is something I do work with my clients, then obviously you can just message me either via LinkedIn or through my website, and we can have an initial chat about how I can help you get that clarity to be able to create the kind of career and life that is really right for you and enables you to feel you have achieved enough in your life and in your career. So have a great rest of the summer. I'm taking time off from these lives until September, so I'll be back in early September with my next live. So have a great summer. Thank you for joining me.